Hello everyone. Today's video is to fill a void, and that void is to show you all of the techniques that I didn't put in the last video on building the whiskey cabinet. So many people had questions on techniques that I used. Today's video is to fill that void, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
To start off with, I wanted to show you a quick clip of how I align the dowels when I'm doing glue ups for putting boards together. And the reason I use the dowelmax is because it gives me a perfect alignment. So in this case, I'm drilling the last hole, and when I finish drilling that last hole, what I'm going to do is advance the dowelmax. Now you'll notice that I'm aligning the face of the dowelmax with the face of the board. Now I'm moving it back and I'm installing the measuring gauge that will allow me now, see how it inserts in the hole, and now I can align the dowelmax perfectly and drill holes in the back, or actually one hole in the back, and I'm going to keep doing that process throughout the length of the board. And that's how, if you notice in the glue up, all of those dowel pins align with each side of the board. So that's that one finished, and now I just move it ahead and carry on through the length of the board.
Well, today is the start of finishing day for me, and you can see I've got a lot of things set up here, so I've got quite a few things to talk about today. So you'll notice that I've got yellow tape on some of these parts here, and that's because I'm pre-finishing and I don't want to get finish in some of these areas, because in some of these areas glue is going to be attached, and I don't want to have a finishing material there that's going to interfere with the glue joint. So it took me probably 3 or 4 minutes to do all of this taping. Seems like a lot, but it only took a few minutes to do. And I'm actually using something called automotive masking tape. So it sticks really well, and it's not going to let the finish seep in. Now the other thing, you'll notice this over here, you're probably wondering what this is. This is a drying rack for me. So after I've finished all of these, what I'm going to be doing is just laying these in, and all they are finishing nails there, and I'll be laying those in there so that they can dry overnight. I'm using Osmo, and many of you will not be familiar with this. This is what they call a hardening oil. This is a European product. I've been using this for pretty close to 20 years. This is a new formula. This is what it looks like. It's kind of a clear, you can see it's sort of a muddy brown looking. For all of this and all of the coats that I'm making, I'm probably going to use maybe 4 tablespoons of finish. And that's why I have the tablespoon here, because I'm going to be pouring it into my working little tray here. Now, in the past, I've been using this kind of, looks like a foam, almost looks like a foam. But I recently picked up something called Osmo pads, and I've never used them before. I really quite like them. I've never really been thrilled with this product. Usually what I'll do is cut it into little squares and use it that way. This one I'm also going to cut into squares, but it's quite a bit denser, so that'll be interesting to see how that works out. Now, you can see that I've got the sort of the rails and the stiles here, and I have the bottom, actually this is the top here, and when this gets finished, this will be, here's the, this is the bottom, this is the top, so that will actually eventually go like that. And I'll, of course, have to finish the top of that. What I just put underneath here that I didn't show you is the sides and the doors. So they will be the insets for the doors. So I will have panels on the side, which you've already seen at the beginning, and doors. And the insets will be these. And I've already glued these up. This is, what do you call, Spalted Alder. What I'm going to do with Spalted Alder is I'm going to be coating this with a water-based varathane or water-based urethane. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's non-yellowing and I don't want to change the color of this. So what's going to happen, this is going to get a yellow color similar to that. This is the color that I've picked. Now, this is actually natural, and this is what the oak looks like without any finish on. This, I put a dye on and some Osmo, and when I checked, it almost makes no difference. So I'm not going to be dyeing any of this wood, and I want this to be standing out. So the door panels and so on and the sides will look like this, but there'll be a much more amber look. So there'll be a little bit of a contrast between the rays.
Now in this clip, I'm showing one of the secrets of finishing, and that is to do a wet sanding. And I'm using a 600 grit sandpaper right now, and I've just put on the first coat of Osmo. It's dried and hardened for 24 hours, and now I just give a very light coating with this 600 grit sandpaper. The purpose of the water is to allow the sandpaper to flow across the wood a little easier, but it also keeps the sandpaper clear of clogging up so that you just get a little bit more use out of that sandpaper. When this is finished and dry, I'll give one more coat of Osmo and that will be finished.
So very quickly, here's what I did to align these holes. So I've reconfigured my jig so that because I'm now only drilling into 3/4 inch material. And what I did is I aligned, you can actually see that, I aligned the first hole right there. And the second hole, I used this little measuring device that comes with the jig. And of course it's adjustable. And the second hole is in the first hole of the jig, and all the subsequent holes are in the first hole, and this last one is in the last hole as well. So it's 2, 1, 1, 1, and last. And I'll do exactly the same thing on the gable ends, and they will fit in exactly the same way this is, so that everything will align. It fits in perfect. Okay, perfect. Excellent. So when I trimmed the plywood down a little bit, this is the raw plywood that you just saw. And you can see how the edges were pretty badly damaged on some parts of it. Now when I put one coat of Osmo in it, that's what it looks like. It's almost kind of a light beige. It's not that far away from what I want, but I want it darker. I don't want it lighter than the wood that I'm working with. So what I did, I ended up mixing up some Ebony Dye, or I had some dye mixed up, but I diluted it very, very small amount. And this is what I came up with first of all. And I kind of like that. It's fairly close in color, but it's a little bit darker, and I like it a little bit darker. But then I thought I'm going to see if I can just lighten up that mixture a little bit. And that's what I ended up with right there. I should turn it like this so you can see. And that's a very, very close match to that wood. So by using cherry and using wood dye and line dye on that, I can get a very similar color tone to that. I should mention my working solution here. What I did was I filled up this jar with water, and I ended up putting 3 teaspoons of this into that. Even though they look identical, it's very, very diluted. So now the first thing I need to do is with my back, with my sheet, the backing here, I'm going to very lightly give it a very light coat of water, just plain water. Just dampen it, barely dampen it. And then I will give it a coat of this. And after that dries, I'll be able to coat it with the Osmo. And that should give me an almost perfect match. Well, that concludes my video for today. That was all the bits and pieces of behind the scene look at the build of the whiskey cabinet, all the things that I just couldn't put into that original video. Next week is the special build on, or maybe it's the week after it'll be released, the special door pulls for that whiskey cabinet. Something very special. I've never seen anybody do something like this. So if you haven't already subscribed, now would be a really good time to do that, because that's going to be a pretty special video. You're not going to want to miss that one. So I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.